Hi, Year 9. So this video is just a short video to help you get through this lesson and to help you get onto the next stage of what you're doing. So you've done lots of preparation now on different types of writing, and you've looked at ethos, logos, and pathos, and now we're getting to the main part of this unit really, which is when you write your own speech. So this is the main bit of GCSE work that you're going to do before the summer holidays. So lots of you might be wondering, well, why do I need to do this? So the next slide shows you where it falls in terms of the GCSE. So in English language, you've got two different papers. You've been practicing doing different writing from paper 2 and doing articles and speeches. And then there's this bit at the bottom called spoken language. And that's called a non-examined assessment. That's what the exam board now call coursework, what used to be called coursework, and you might still call it coursework in other subjects. It's called non-examined assessment. And you can see this comes in straight from the exam board, and this is when you do presentation and discussion to be assessed on presenting, responding to questions and feedback, and use of standard English. So basically, why do you need to do it? Because it's part of your English language GCSE. Now, usually what happens when we're not in a lockdown is we do it at the end of year 9 and then you present it in front of your class or in front of a smaller group and then it's finished with. But obviously, that's not going to happen this year. So what you're going to do is you're going to get it written, and then whenever you're back in school in September or October, we will fit it in at some point in year 10 and you will deliver it. So you're going to be writing it now, and then it's going to get passed on to your year 10 teacher, and then you will do it next year. So what is it? So that's just what I've said there. At some point next year when we get back, you're going to deliver a speech, and it will either be to a small group or to your whole class, and then afterwards you're going to just answer some questions on it. And the good thing is you can choose your own topic. You can choose basically anything that you're interested in. So if you have a real passion on something, this is your opportunity to write about it or to research it. And equally, if you don't have something you're particularly passionate about, that's fine as well. You just pick a topic that you've got a bit of an interest in and you do some research. And the aim is to be entertaining. Now, that doesn't mean like haha stand-up comedy. You don't need to make people laugh. It just means that you've got to engage your audience and make them a bit interested in what you're saying. You've got to be persuasive, so you've got to use the ethos, logos, pathos. You've got to be fluent, so when you eventually deliver this, you won't need to worry about this now, but when you eventually deliver it, you'll have cue cards and you'll practice it and you'll know the speech a little bit. And you've got to try to be confident. Even if you don't feel it, you've got to try to project that you feel confident. And you will individually speak for between 5 and 10 minutes, which sounds like a lot, but it goes really quickly. And usually what happens is at this stage, people write their speech and then they practice it and they realise it's actually 15 minutes long and they've got to cut it down. So, and just to say again, it's an official part of your English GCSE final grade, and it's something that you'll all be really good at. It's always a really nice thing. People get quite nervous about it, but then actually when it's done, they're really proud of themselves that they've done it. Okay, so what we're doing in today's lesson, well, you're going to begin planning and preparing your own speech. And before you do that, what we're going to do is look at what some examples look like, because I think it's always easier to imagine it if you've seen a couple of people doing it already. So the following slides are some examples of real speakers, and the exam board send these out to give you an idea of the different types of mark you could get. Actually, what I haven't said already, nope, I thought it was on that slide, but it's not. There are a couple of marks you can get. So you can get top mark as a distinction, next mark down as a merit, then you can have a pass, or you can have a fail. Now, very few people fail this. Most people, vast majority, are going to pass, or they're going to get a merit, and some get a distinction. The only way you can fail really is if you don't say anything at all. So failure is not something you need to be worried about. So we're going to look at two examples. I'm going to play the video. I just want you to watch along and just have a think. Like, what do you think about it? Are you interested in that topic? Do you feel like they're presenting it in a way that's engaging to you, the audience? Let me know what you think. So the first speaker is somebody called Connor. Here we go. So we're going to watch Connor and have a listen to what he says. I might pause it occasionally and just give you my opinion. I'm going to pause there because you might be thinking, and I certainly am thinking, he is talking very quickly. Almost so quickly, that's quite hard to understand what he's saying. So that's something you're going to be thinking about. Am I speaking at a pace that allows the audience to hear me? You might also be a bit confused about what he's talking about because he hasn't really introduced it. He just goes straight into it without an introduction that helps the audience understand who Dr. Crippen is or what he's going to be talking about. So if you were thinking those things, then you're spot on. Oh, sorry. I'm going to pause it again there because we've listened to another 30 seconds or so, and Connor is continuing in the same way. What you might notice that's really good is that he's not using any notes. So that's a good thing. He knows this topic really well, but he's still speaking very quickly. Now, once you've delivered your speech, you will then have to answer some questions. So I'm just going to fast forward till we get to when Connor starts to answer some questions and you can see his classmates here. And because the So I'm just going to pause there. You can see that Connor answers the questions from the audience pretty confidently. He doesn't hesitate and he knows his topic well. So that gives you a good idea of one example of a speech. Now what I'm going to do is show you what the exam board say about Connor. And here we go. So the examiner feedback is that Connor presents to a group of classmates on the life and death of Dr. Crippen. He speaks without notes and at an inexorable pace. That means very fast, and lots of knowledge. It seems at times as though he may have learnt his source material, which is not in itself an issue, but which here can be seen to impact on the way he delivers his presentation. That just means that although he knows it really well, he's talking too fast. The topic itself could be challenging, but the way he unrolls the narrative, no real pause for reflection, means that his approach is better described as straightforward. Straightforward is one of the words on the marking criteria. This presentation has some shape, that's another word for structure, but it is a bit straightforward, and in terms of the narrative, it's quite linear. He uses a good range of vocab, he speaks confident standard English, and he answers his questions clearly and fluently, as I said. But if you look down here to bold, he is awarded a pass. Now, he could easily, with slowing down a little bit, could easily have gotten a merit, but it is just too fast. And another way to improve would have been for him to develop his skills by extending the range of ideas. So that means kind of introducing it, being a bit more engaging with the audience and helping them understand, because although he knows it very well, he's forgotten that the audience don't know it very well. And he also needs to vary the speed and vary the pitch of his delivery to sound, because clearly he is very interested in it, but he doesn't always sound very interested in it. Okay, so there's an example of somebody who got a pass. Now we're going to look at somebody who did not get a pass. So I'm not going to give it away yet and say whether they got better or worse than Connor. I want you to decide. And we should be looking at, I think it's not quite as good, and do you think they failed? I'm just going to pause there. I've not heard it long, but what you might notice is different is that she introduces the topic to the audience in a much clearer way, so everyone knows exactly what she's going to be talking about. You might also have noticed that she's looking down occasionally, but for the vast majority of the time, she is looking out at the audience. So I want you to think whether you think that that's better than Connor, who didn't look down at all, or do you think it is worse? I'm just going to pause there because you can hear that what Laura's doing now is giving some research that she's done. She's quoting other people to show her expertise. So she's using the ethos, logos, and pathos techniques that you've practiced. Now, I'm going to fast forward on. This is on YouTube if you search AQA GCSE spoken language. But I'm going to fast forward now because the rest of her talk is very similar to this, and I'm going to show you how she engages with questions. Okay, and that's an example of how Laura answers a question. So she's thoughtful and she doesn't just give a one-word answer, but she really seems to engage with the person that asked the question. So I want you to think now before I show you, do you think that was better than Connor, or do you think not quite as good? Now, For anybody that thought it was better, you are right. So the name there is wrong. That should say Laura, but it says Laura has a very clear grasp of her topic and puts forward a challenging set of ideas. She highlights central concepts through reference to detailed interpretation of data. That's the research I was talking about. She's got a sophisticated repertoire of vocabulary and creates a tightly structured and cohesive argument. She also uses a range of rhetorical strategies. Rhetorical strategies is just what you've been practicing, all the persuasive writing. And we'll just skip forward a bit. You can see that she gets a distinction. So that's kind of either end of the spectrum, really. You see Connor, who's passed and has clearly tried, but is very fast and doesn't structure it very well. And then at the top end, you've got somebody who's introduced a topic, put in the persuasive features, learnt some of it by heart. Sometimes she looks down and that's absolutely fine, but who manages to get the top marks. So hopefully now you think, okay, I've got a bit of an idea about what I'm doing. Now we get on to the fun part. Now we get on to choosing your topic. So the first thing that you need to do is, if you haven't done so already, choose your topic. So what I need you to do now is pause the video and I want you to write down the topic that you're going to write about. You could choose one from here. You could choose one from this kind of area here that's not as specific, or it could be anything that you are interested in. If you're unsure if it's appropriate, just message me and show my homework and I can let you know. So pause the video now and write down the topic that you're going to write about. Okay, now you've got your topic. The next stage is research and planning, and that is what you're going to be doing for the remainder of this lesson. So for your chosen topic, you need to make sure that you have the following. You need 3 strong logical arguments about why you think what you do. So for example, say you were going to talk about this first one here. Say you're going to talk about homework being futile, that means pointless. You need 3 good reasons that you think that. You can't just have one main reason, that's not going to be long. It's not going to give you enough to talk about. So 3 main logical arguments or reasons that you have your opinion. You also need some facts and statistics so that you can just research, not expecting you to know that. You need a quote from an expert about your topic, and there's a good thing to do. Type in an expert opinion on and you can find that. You need an anecdote about someone who has been affected by your topic. It could be you or it could be somebody else, and you can make the anecdote up as long as it's realistic and doesn't start with flying to the moon on a rocket, unless of course you're doing something about space travel. And you also need a range of really good vocab words that is going to make you sound really passionate about what you're doing. So my video stops now. What you need to do is spend the next 30 minutes. You should have about 30 minutes left of the lesson, maybe a little bit more, and you're going to research your topic. Next lesson, we're going to think about how to put this into a structure. But for now, I just want you to use this slide and I want you to make sure that you've ticked off each of these boxes by doing a bit of research. If you've got any questions at all or you're not sure, ask me and I will help you. Okay? I hope that you've got a really good idea of what you're doing now and you know what to do.